Welcome to Rising Goddess Radio. I'm your hostess, Michelle Torrance. I created Rising Goddess Radio to be a space where we dive deep into our spiritual, emotional, and physical bodies. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, and womb healing. We'll be learning how to connect with our bodies through learning the language it speaks, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives. This show is about healing the chaotic feminine and toxic masculine within to create a world that responds to the divine and healthy energy you chose to tune in, tap in, and turn on. We will learn from amazing humans who take time and share their wisdom and sacred healing magic, rising humans who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warriors, and shamans. All divine sisters and brothers in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy. We're going to talk all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves and create a community that expands with the ascension and growth of each of us. So grab some green juice, light some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the pool because we are about to rise up another level together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, my beautiful rising humans, and welcome to this next episode of Rising Goddess Radio. I have started and then deleted and then started and deleted this episode a couple of times. It's a solocast. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to title this yet, but I know it has something to do with the tower, the mother wound, and conviction. So let's fucking dive in, right? This is going to be kind of a vulnerable episode for me. I'm sharing some shit with you that I haven't shared with people. And, I teach transmuting shame. So obviously it requires me to continue to be aware and transmute any shame that might be vibrating in my field, right? Practice what I preach, right? That's so important. The life that you see me living is because I wake up every day with this passion and this desire to be and embody the certainty of my purpose and magic. And it sometimes can be scary as fuck. You might have noticed some changes happening with the Rising Goddess. I've kind of been a little quickly expansive and not all over the place, but a little, I don't even want to say discombobulated, even though that's one of my favorite words, but scattered maybe? I've been scattered. That sounds right. I've been scattered in my thought process. I've been scattered in my vibration, and it's been quite a long scatter that's been happening because it was quite a big lesson and quite a big experience that happened, which ultimately then indicates that big magic is here. So, which is a great book, by the way, if you have never read Big Magic. Oh my God, there it is. I love it when epiphanies happen and just like thoughts, and I hear things, because if you've never read Big Magic, first of all, I encourage you to read it. Elizabeth Gilbert. She's amazing. But the concept of big magic ultimately is centered around the ideas. And collectively there's ideas that are floating around, and some of those ideas people grab onto them and make magic from those ideas. Other people grab ideas and then hold on to it and don't do anything with it, and other people just let them pass by and they miss the opportunities. The aces in tarot are opportunities, but they represent fleeting opportunities, right? So anyways, I just highly encourage you to get that book. It's a great book. So when I first started the Rising Goddess, it was really focused on moon cycles, focused on moon cycles and learning how to trust your body. And it started because I stopped birth control. It was making me crazy. I felt terrible, and I knew that I was holding myself back from something. Now, I am full support, which we'll get into. And if you follow me on any of my social medias, you obviously know where my support goes. It's in the supporting of woman choosing what's right for her body in any sort of capacity, no matter what it is, and supporting that woman in the decisions that she has to make, no matter the hard decisions, because realizing that ultimately there is no competition or separation between me and another woman. It's ultimately we are beautiful vibration and expressions of that vibration, of the core vibration of love. And so this is all part of the witch wound that we work on healing, right? This is what my gig is. Oh my God. There's a spider outside my window, crawling along my window. Good thing it's on the outside, but let me tell you, quick break. Now I'm looking around. There was a spider when I was working out, and I saw him like walking above my window. Now, spiders actually are good luck and represent abundance. So if you go to kill a spider, make sure you say, sorry, nothing personal. At least that's what I do. Because they represent abundance coming through. Ooh, it's 4:23 right now. West Coast time. But anyways, I digress. That's just who the fuck I am. But so I started the Rising Goddess based off of moon cycles and really wanting to learn about my body, and then realizing, diving into Rise, Sister Rise. Make sure you read that book too if you haven't. That's an amazing book. I don't assign, but I encourage all of my clients to read that book and usually start off. That's the one I first recommend for any of you out there who have been curious about the witchy side of yourself. I encourage you to start off with reading Rise, Sister Rise and see how it resonates with you. I've read it a couple of times, and each time as I get deeper into my knowingness, I feel more and on a deeper level with the book and the awareness and the connection with my own witchiness. But so that's where I started, and then it was sacral chakra, and I started to expand more and more and tying it to sex magic, because of course I read the Magdalene manuscript. If you haven't read Magdalene manuscript, I highly recommend that. But before you read the Magdalene manuscript, I encourage you to read Rise, Sister Rise first. When I read the Magdalene manuscript the first time without reading Rise, Sister Rise, I really couldn't understand the language because I wasn't fully accepting who I truly was at my core. And so after I accepted the fact that I am a witch, accepted the fact that I am a high priestess of some sort, I knew then I went back to read the Magdalene manuscript and realized that yes, I was a sex priestess, and that my work and purpose is sex magic. And so that was all, of course, part of Cookie Apocalypse, which you guys, if you've listened to that episode, if you're friends with me, we all know what Cookie Apocalypse means in my world. It was definitely something because, religious conditioning has been something that has been part of my world. And I've had to break through and break free from that religious conditioning and the shame of everything that goes along with our bodies and the lies that were surrounding the truth of my perfection. See, that's just it. So many of us, we come in as we're growing, like, we're as we're adults, we're like trying to seek and get all this perfection when ultimately we were born perfect. We were born perfect. It's all of the lies, the bullshit, the conditioning, the control, the patriarchal bullshit, the venom that is overlaid upon us that is skewing our perspective of our world and ourself. And what I do is I dive into that motherfucking murk and I walk with your ass to the motherfucking truth of your light. And that's what we fucking work on together. So, evolving with the Rising Goddess, ultimately where I am right now and what my passion is and what we are doing and what the movement is about is the sexual empowerment. It's redefining what the feminine is within you. It's understanding that we all have the masculine and feminine within ourselves, and it's redefining what that means for us based off of our own truth and perspective, from our alignment, not from the lies and the bullshit that we have surrounded ourselves with, not from that perspective. The only way that men are going to be able to truly rise up and support women in this fight that we are in is for them to be able to ultimately and honestly, genuinely connect and align with the feminine aspect of their being. For them to be able to do that, it requires them to tap into their femininity, to start to dismantle the toxicity within themselves. We cannot dismantle the external patriarchy externally. You guys have heard me say this before. We have to dismantle the toxicity and the patriarchy within ourselves. And men, just as much, the healthy masculine is starving, is crying out, has so many shame and lies and deceptions of blankets on them, and they want to rise up with us, but there's so much more murk and bullshit and venom that is connected with them for them to be able to tap into their feminine, and they're afraid. So it's important for us who are speaking out, the ones who are helping the women tap into their feminine throughout the healthy feminine, right? Removing the chaos, transmuting the chaos, healing the witch wound, healing the mother wound. All of this is so important for us to be able to do this as women, to remove that competition, to lean in together, so that way we can help support the men lean into their own feminine and redefine what feminine means for them. And then only then can they actually truly be able to say something and stand up with us. We see that men are tapped into that. We see those men who are. They are the men that are rising up. They're the ones that are angry with us. They are the ones that are speaking their truth with us. They are the ones that are standing right next to, beside us. They are the ones that you see who are saying something, and they are not just standing by. So we know that there are men out there who are tapped in with their feminine energy and are able to fully connect and understand what it is that we are going through. But it takes that to happen. And so that's what we do. That is what the Rising Goddess is about. It's about sex and intimacy within couples. It's learning how to communicate with your partner. I work with couples on connecting and learning how to get past these hardships that go on. There's so many things that can happen within a relationship, and me being in almost 20 years. And now listen, I'm not saying just because the length of the time that you've been in a relationship equals the healthiness of that relationship, but the healthiness of my relationship has definitely been a catalyst and a driving factor and a purpose building development structure of what it is in my purpose that I'm supposed to be doing here. So yes, I have 20 years of experience of relationship communication based off of sex and intimacy connection, and learning how to have intimate connections and conversation with your partners, learning how to talk about the sex struggles, learning how to talk about your fantasies and kinks, learning how to connect and lean in with each other, which is what we'll get to here shortly, during times of struggle, whether you're about to be kicked out, whether you are going through a loss in the family, or whether there's a job loss, whether there's money situations, whatever the fucking case may be. That is what the Rising Goddess movement is all about. It's redefining communication, sex, intimacy. We're also redefining what communication is between parents and teens. There are teens out there who are killing themselves because of anxiety and depression, because they can't communicate with their parents, because their parents can't communicate with them. And there's this destruction of this family dynamic, no matter whatever the dynamic of the family is. The traditional dynamic of the family has already shifted, and it's been shifting. And now it's time to recognize, acknowledge, and accept it. And that means accepting our children, who they are, what they are, why they are, everything, what they do, how they do, who they do. And this is the different dynamic of the family life that we are living in. It's time to redefine what family means and redefine what love is being expressed as. It's time to rise up from the bullshit. So what's been happening with me? Going through all these changes and shifts, what I teach and what I talk about is hard. I help people heal religious conditioning and indoctrination in a world right now where they're trying to tip us back into the heart core of that. And it's a scary thing to talk about. It's a scary thing to want to face. Going into our shadow is something that's scary. That's what we bypass. What do you think addiction is for, right? Addiction is not a disease. I've been an addict since the age of 5, starting with food, moving on to all sorts of relationships. And as a human race, the core dysfunctional vibration is codependency that runs through all of us. So it's scary to go in there and do that fucking shadow work. But that's what we're here to do. Our light is in the fucking shadow. And we've got to go through the murk. So it's scary for people to do that. And not a lot of people are seeing the ROI of their investment in their shadow work and understanding the transmuting sexual shame and realizing that any sort of shame that has to do with any sort of our body, our sexual desires, fantasies, trauma, all of that plays a major impact and role within every single other area and aspect of our life. So, my business is growing. It's shifting. And my husband has been a stay-at-home father. He's been the homemaker for 19 years. And here's the interesting thing. See, we've been redefining the family dynamic and human templates and family templates for quite some time before it became, the norm. Because ultimately now there's more men who are stay-at-home fathers and are the homemakers, and women are going out in percentage-wise. Which is fantastic, which is another way that men are able to tap and redefine their feminine energy within themselves, right? So we've been not fighting, but we've been against the grain of traditional relationships and traditional families for quite some time. And we've put up with the comments. He's put up with he's a lazy ass. He's got a sugar mama. He needs to fucking work, and she needs to fucking, he needs to go out and do this, and she needs to get back into the house. Like, what the fuck is that all about? First of all, who the fuck are you? Right? And there's been many times in my life where I've wanted to speak up and say something to people in our family, which I haven't, out of respect for the people in our family. And during those times, I was still you might hear my cards. I'll stop doing that so it's a distraction. And during those times in the past, it was me growing through. So I was still in an unawakened state. So it was still coming from chaos, but yet this genuine fire that I didn't even understand yet then at that point. So we've been dealing with all of the prejudice against it and all the fucking bullshit that people have to say. Every time he would go out to get a job, something would happen that would ultimately bring him back home to watch our daughter. He would go out, he'd get a job. If he was the last one hired, he was the first one fired. Some sort of bullshit happened with some other employee and it ended up trickling through. And for some reason, he's let go for some reason. And then the whole business goes down. Or we had our daughter in a daycare. And half the day in this brand new daycare, we finally found her to go in. I get a call to come pick her up because there's a drug raid happening and they're arresting all the people who work there for trafficking drugs. So then I couldn't get out. He had to go and leave his job to go get her and take her home because I couldn't leave based off of the job that I was doing. Then there was she was at this in-home daycare with this lady who was referred to me by my mom, who I trusted, thinking this lady. She ends up not paying attention to my daughter and, her finger gets slammed in the door. So then my husband has to take off work to go get her and take her to the hospital. So every single time he would go out to go make money for the home, something would happen that would bring him back home. even if it was to the point where he was making just enough, he was making the exact amount of how much it would cost to put her into daycare for him to work. Even down to that. So for years, we didn't understand, but we realized that, you know what, this is just the way it is. He's the one to stay home. He's going to be the one to be the homemaker. He's going to be the one to be the stay-at-home father. He's going to be the main person at the house for the structure. And I'm going to be the one to go out and work. And we enjoyed it. We enjoy the dynamic that we have. I had no problems going out working. I enjoy working. Where I have been working on the past couple of years is not working. So I could have gone on into a digression, but I'm going to stop myself. But we accepted that, right? So we were good with that. Now, we have been through multiple different financial hardships in our life. We've gone through cycles of it. And this happened, throughout our time where I was unawakened, and Sean was in the same vibration with me. And so as we are growing this business, he's still here. He is the stay-at-home father. He is the one that grounds in joyous structure for us. He helps keep me grounded. Being in my feminine, which is what my purpose and my work is the feminine. And to be able to make decisive decisions in my feminine can be challenging. So he is part of that. Now, we are also twin flames. This is not our first life together. In our last life, he did the working and I did not. However, we both were manipulative and we took advantage and we were the toxic and chaotic side of ourselves. So this life, we've been working off karmic debt. And we started to realize that, of course, as I got deeper into my shamanic studies, deeper into my priestess studies, deeper into my connection with spirit and talking with my guides and working with other goddesses who are also in this energy of rising through different expressions of it. And so we know and knew the risks that would happen and what could happen when I got let go from my job last September. We knew I wasn't going to go back to the mortgage industry. 18 years of toxic corporate fucking boys club bullshit, which obviously hindered what my true magic and purpose is. But we didn't worry. We knew that there was risk. We knew that we had support, and there's support here in Oregon that helps self-employed businesses rising through. And so, we dove in. We dove in and we went head in. And by doing that, it opened up different worlds and ideas and creative projects for me and clarity on where I wanted to go and how I wanted to help people. And then December, we decided to fall into the lifestyle. So we opened our marriage. We are in a consensual, non-monogamous relationship, partnership. When we decided to do that, this is not just, it wasn't a quick decision. This was a conversation that had been happening 15 years in the making. And I go a little bit into it on the episode that I recorded with Tara, Rose, and James from Sex Uninterrupted, which definitely head over and follow them and their podcasts. They're amazing. Especially if you're curious in non-monogamous relationships. But this is also an avenue and an aspect of what I work with couples. Couples who have decided to open up their marriage and become consensually non-monogamous. It takes a lot of communication, and there's a lot of things that come up when we do that. So I work with couples on how to communicate through those transitions and changes. And so when we dove in, not only did we dive in, but my husband also quit smoking cigarettes after 20 something years. And so since January, we have been in quantum growth, and this is serious, fast, rapid growth that has been happening with us on a personal, spiritual, energetic level. We practice sex magic, all of the rituals and the homework and everything that I give to my clients and students, of course, of the Master Circle. I practice. My husband and I do the sex magic, or we practice it. We do the healing. We do the chakra work. We do the cleansing work. We have been the physical embodiment of the expression of my purpose. And we have healed ancient lines of trauma. We have peeled and strewn about layers and layers and layers of shame and disgust and fear and hatred and all of the lies and conditioning and programming that we have had surrounding us. And we have become so much closer in our relationship. We talk about everything. Now, we've always talked about everything. I mean, a lot of people have always asked me, because I've worked from home for many, many years. That's in the mortgage industry. You can do remote work. And I mean, I've been at home working for many, many years. So with me here working from home and him being the homemaker, we are around each other all the time. And there's times where we have to stop ourselves from talking for us to each get to work on our prospective work. Now, he's also a cannabis grower. He grows amazing cannabis for medicinal purposes, for of course, for all purposes for us. We're all pro cannabis here. But also, I mean, all of us in our family respectively have what society would call issues with our energies and with certain chemical balances, and then hormonal aspects where he grows amazing cannabis for us. And, he's always been amazing at growing things. That's why he's the stay-at-home father. He's grown amazing children. He's grown amazing joyous structure. He's helped me grow. I mean, the first 12 years of our marriage, he was basically my therapist. He's the one that has been the one to pull my light out of the darkness that you see me and hear from me today. So our relationship is amazing, and we go through, and we have been through multiple scary situations, heart-wrenching situations, exciting situations. And through all of those, it's taken us learning how to communicate. So getting let go of my mortgage job, right? Last September. Moving through and growing Rising Goddess Movement and growing Rising Goddess Radio, just everything about it. And the growing of the business has been because of the growing of me, right? And so we have been making massive and rapid changes, shifts, rising, healings, dismantling, all of that. And, over the last couple of months, financially, First of all, over the last couple of months, we have been the happiest, most aligned, most secure emotionally, sexually, sensually, and connected in our entire life. And we've also been the brokest that we have ever been in our entire life. If you know Tarot, then we've been the 10 of Cups for months, but we've also been the 5 of Pentacles. And this past weekend, we knew that we were getting to a critical turning point in our structure. Our bills have been past due. We have been moment to moment on money to live. Throughout all this, we have been worried a couple of times, but it's been a surreal worry. It's a worry that is more of a habitual response. And so for the last couple of weeks, months, really, for the last couple of weeks, we've known the Tower has been showing up in our readings. So we've known that a Tower event was happening. We just didn't know what Tower event. And knowing that our power bill was going to be due and that rent was going to be due, we kind of had a feeling. So everything that I would try to do, any sort of creative solution that I would come up with, wasn't working. Every single creative solution, I was open to all creative solutions and nothing was working. I could not prevent what was going to happen, no matter how hard I tried. I had to let go of control and realize that the control and that things were falling. And I couldn't save it. And for me, oh, fuck. Man. That was my biggest fear. That was my biggest fear from leaving the mortgage industry. I wanted to leave a couple years in, but it was so much good money before the crash, obviously. But then I felt stuck. And then I was stuck in this cycle of self-deception, depression, fear, shame, anger. So I didn't feel worthy of doing anything else but that, and punishing myself by working around people who, it's amazing. It's amazing when you're talking and then all of a sudden you have a realization. I think, is this the second time I've said that on this one? I'm not sure. So there was nothing I could do. And the power went out. Now, before the power went out, or right after the power went out, we've had this broken down car in front of our house for a while, which is obviously not good for some feng shui, right? My feng shui people out there. Stale energy, dead energy in front of the front door, right? That is not good. Opportunity knocking. Hello. So the power goes out, and we knew that this guy, he was supposed to come a couple days earlier to come pick up this dead car for scrap metal. He was just going to buy it from us for scrap metal, which was another opportunity for us to be able to have a moment to moment and have food. Throughout all of this time, not once did we ever go hungry at night. We always had a meal. And so the power goes out. This guy comes 2 days late. We end up getting money. So, because I was about to walk because we had no gas in the car. So I was about to walk with my big ass red bag and my laptop a mile to Starbucks to go sit and do some work and to email to ask for help, see who I could ask for help, because it was at that stage, obviously, that we knew something was going to happen. But we knew that we were going to be staying in this house. Everything lined up so perfectly for us to get into this house. And every single time an opportunity has happened for us to leave this house, an opportunity overtook to keep us here. So, I didn't have to walk a mile to Starbucks. I was able to get gas in the car and go sit in the parking lot at Freddy's. And I reached out and asked my parents. Now, this was something that I did not want to do. I'm almost 40 years old. I felt like my business was failing. And here I am asking my parents to pay my power and my rent. Now, I put it up as a business proposition, a family business, an investment in our family business, because I know that the purpose of our business is based in love. And I believe in it so much. I believe in the change of this world so much. I believe in the healing so much. And I believe in our next generation, our younger generation, to really change this. It may not be my generation that changes it, but it sure is fucking going to be my generation that keeps perpetuating the bullshit. So I shared everything. Now, I have not told my mom and dad exactly what I've done and what I do as a business. They don't really care. They love me, but, I'm their daughter. But they don't really care. At least, so I didn't think they even knew. I mean, shit, I was a Beachbody coach for fucking 5 years. And in my 5th year, my mom's like, so are you still selling those shakes? I mean, come on, right? So obviously, if it doesn't affect my mom, then she doesn't really pay attention. Which is what I used to live too. I used to live that way in my past paradigm. Paying attention was something I just did not do unless it directly involved me, and then I would pay fully attention. So I understand where it came from. And I understand my mom did what she could do, the best that she could do when she did it. But we'll move into this. So I expressed to her, and I shared what I do. Now, my mom is born again Christian. She is very deep into her ideology. She is in support of the reversal of things. And so now granted, I didn't say, talking all sex magic and shit, but what I did talk to her about was in the words that I knew that she could understand. I'm a sex and intimate coach, communication coach for couples. I help people learn how to communicate with each other, how to communicate with their kids, how to redefine communication for their families, how to help kids communicate with their parents and others, learn how to remove shame and step into their truth. And well, that right there, I think might have done it, but so I get an email back. Mind you, I'm nauseous this whole time. they can't help me, which is fine. It's not a matter of the money, being able to help or whatever. I get that. But she tells me that she's been concerned about the way I make a living and I need to return to Jesus, and gave me a number to a church here locally. Now, for those of you who may not know me, this was a statement that is not something that is new for my mom. And again, I've never talked to them about their beliefs and ideology that, like what I believe that they believe in is not right. Or, I've never bashed their stuff. I've never told them that they weren't blessed. I've never, done anything of that nature. That's just not how I roll, because that's not what I teach. I teach unity. I teach alignment. I teach magic. And so that triggered something within me. That triggered the mother wound that has been the deepest, lowest gunk in my Pandora's box. You know that gunk. The gunk that's in the bottom of the cup, the protein shake cup that you didn't wash out, right? Y'all know what I'm fucking talking about. Don't think like I know. Don't act like I'm the only one who hasn't rinsed out her protein shake cups. Okay? You ain't guts to lie, Craig. Shit. But that gunk. And boy, was that a deep, deep, deep wound that came through from that. So obviously it wasn't mom and dad, right, who was going to help. My husband was connecting with people he loved and who he respected, and he felt to reach out to, even though throughout all of them, he knew that there was only one person that he was supposed to reach out to, and it took him forever. He didn't even want to, but he's been hearing her name for a while. And so he decided to do that message and reach out to her. Because nobody else could help. And it couldn't be anybody else. It had to be this particular person. It had to be this particular person. Everything lined up so magically. And he's knowing that he's had to connect with her. So he reached out. And the cards kept telling us, we were doing readings throughout this whole time. Are we making the right choices? Are we moving in the right steps? Because I felt like, what's going on? Like, why can't I do anything to fix this? Why can't I save this? Why can't I save this? Do you ever get that feeling? My whole life, I've always wanted to save everybody. I could never save anybody. I always was the one to fix everything. I was always the one to make it better. And I couldn't make this better. I couldn't fix this. And she helped us. She was so kind. And it was all meant to be because, the cards kept saying that somebody wants to invest in our family business. Because this is a family business. Let me tell you this. You may just hear me, but Sean's my co-creator. Rin is our social media manager. TT is our digital sound graphic arts manager, idea master, manifester. And Kai is support. Do you need a hug? Kai will give you a hug. Are you on day 1 of your moon cycle? What can I get you? He asks. So for a whole night, before we even knew, because we didn't know if she was going to be able to help, we sent the message out, and then our hotspot had to leave the house. And so with all the lights off, we had just enough firewood to have a beautiful fire. We had all these beautiful tea light candles everywhere. And we had an opportunity to sit in the moment and truly be present in the realizations of what has been happening. Because when the lights were off and we were sitting in the quiet with some great CBD bud, the clarity started to come. I couldn't do anything for this tower event. That was my lesson. I had to go through my fear, and then I had to tell my parents what it was that I actually did. And then I had to go through the releasing of the abandonment for being me, because in my lowest moment where I was fearful, the one person who is supposed to be the most supportive, unconditionally loving, threw in the one thing that she knew to try and get me to go to her way in my fear, in my downing moment, telling me how wrong I am, that the life I live and who I am is wrong, when I know deep down in the core of my entire being that everything that I'm doing is right. When I see that they're trying to continue to take away more and more rights of women, and don't even get me started on black women, because they are the ones who are even feeling this way more than we have ever felt it as white women. But see, what's happening is that now white women are actually being a part of this. It's affecting us, right? Not all of us, not the ones who are going to be able to have help. But I look at what's happening in the world, and I see a much better future. I see the unity. I see the rising. I see the cleansing of the toxic. I see the cleansing of the venom. I see the healing of the witch wound. I see the reconstruction and having, instead of a mother wound, a mother love. I believe in this because I see it. I feel it. We're here, and it's time. And my purpose, my work, I have been afraid to stand in conviction, and it's this tower falling in my world. it took for me to rise up in the conviction of who I am and why I am, and that I no longer am tied to the wound that perpetuates the shame in my world. So, we're still here. And we're closer. We're more aligned. We have more creative imagination and magic within ourselves. And we're not giving up. Because we know that the Rising Goddess movement is more than just aligning with your moon cycles. It's more than just transmuting through sex. It's redefining and rising. It's redefining and rising. And we're doing that through communicating and allowing and connecting and healing and changing the templates of what was here and what is trying to crumble, so we can rebuild new templates of love, connection, expression, magic, fun, co-creative. There will still be contrasts. It's not going to be a utopia. We came here as humans to have contrast. That's part of being human. But it's the structure that supports that contrast that's going to change. And it may not change right away. But the Rising Goddess movement is part of that change. And I no longer am afraid to stand on the conviction of who I am, why I am, and what I am. And I no longer am afraid to stand in the conviction of your truth and calling you to your truth. You no longer need to fear the religious conditioning and indoctrination that keeps you in the shame shadow. You no longer need to fear that you're going to be burned at the stake. You no longer need to fear to rise up into your truth. I support you. We support you. And we're not going to shut the fuck up until we make that shit happen. So, the tower has fallen. Look at what remains. My family structure. We are closer. We are more grounded. We are more aligned. We've learned lessons, humility, connection, love, experience, memories, stories, reflections. All of the beautiful, amazing human experiences that we chose to come here for. The mother wound can be healed. But it takes you walking away and setting those boundaries and knowing what you are available for and what you are not. And trusting that if you are no longer available for something that you have been fearing to let go of or walk away from, that it's okay. You can trust your choices. You know when it feels right. And you know when it feels wrong. Be honest with yourself. I knew this was going to be emotional, but fuck. Stand in conviction of who you are. Trust the choices you make. Realize that control is only an illusion. lift your hands up and just go along for the ride. Has anybody told you how special you are today? Because you're very special. Has anybody told you how important you are today? Because you are so important. Has anybody told you how much they loved you today? Because I love you. And on that note, I'm going to go smoke a bowl and take a bath. I'll catch y'all in the next episode. Later.